Hey guys, this is Jakob. I'm content manager and helping small and medium enterprises with their content strategy. Today I have a special guest. I am going to speak with Philipp Reiter, who's the founder of the German Watch. Welcome, Phil. How are you doing?
Thank you, Jakob. I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. We have sunshine here in Hamburg and everybody is happy about the sunshine because
Excellent.
normally the weather is not that good. But
yeah, Hamburg is pretty problematic with sun. It's not that much sun or rain. I know that because I was born and raised in Hamburg, actually.
Yes, that's cool. So, but you're at the moment currently in Brussels, right?
I am in Brussels, in the capital of Europe, because Brussels is a very essential part of our business. And I strongly believe what happens in Brussels happens everywhere else around in Europe. So Brussels is the next step after our company was founded in Weimar. And after Brussels comes the rest of the world, which includes the US.
Yes, that's the expansion goal and the goal for the German watch. And this is already our topic. So today we are going to speak a little bit about you and your path as an entrepreneur, which this is something that I love to speak about. So how are you the person? How this person evolved through different stages? So and how did you found this company? And this is also a special story about your background, and I'm very excited to speak today with you about this topic. So, but first of all, before we jump into the topic of watches and your company, can you introduce yourself in a nutshell? So, who are you, and what is really your passion? So, what are you thinking about all night and all the day?
Okay, hi, my name is Philipp Reiter, and I am a wristwatch addict. And I believe that everything came when my parents gave me a wristwatch when I was 5 years old or so. It was a broken, tiny little watch, but I loved it actually because it had a very classic design, and it was broken. I didn't really show the time, just twice a day actually, but I loved the design. I loved the fluorescent dials, and the clock face, and I think that's when everything started. And when I was a student, I already founded my first company. I started
As a student.
As a student already, yeah, in 1997.
Wow.
Yeah, I studied economics, and but I had to do nothing with watches until 2017. But with wholesale, with business consultancy and public relations, and of course, still a watch addict.
Yeah. When you say watch addict, does this mean that you are collecting these watches?
Yeah.
And
okay. I mean, I'm not a rich guy, so I can't afford the real expensive Rolex collections, of course. But when I like a watch, I tend to buy it because, I like the history about it. And when they are old, even better. What I strongly believe in is the history and the story behind a watch. And every time I walk around, in particular on flea markets or very old jewelries and watch shops around the world, I always have a look. And when I like the watch and I can afford it, and I can spend some money on that, then I buy them. And I have a tiny little collection now, and this means it when I say I'm a wristwatch addict.
How big is your collection? So how many watches do you have in your apartment?
So I have a box in my sleeping room, which is quite big actually, and it's fully packed with watches. I shouldn't say that actually, because if somebody breaks into my house, then it will be easy to find. But the most expensive ones are at the bank at the moment. So and some of them I always take with me when I'm traveling actually. So I really like to change it. So although since I founded the company, I only wear our own watches at the moment, which is a bit of a pity actually, because I also like other brands as well.
That's cool. So this is already, I think, a very interesting topic for all people out there who think about investments and things like that. So I mean, a watch can be also an investment, right? I never thought about this before I met you, but for some people it is an investment, right? They are collecting it, and
I mean, it is all about the storytelling around a watch. Nobody in those days buys a watch because he or she wants to know the time. You've got your cell phone with you. You've got plenty of opportunities on your computer anywhere around to see what time it is, actually. And so nobody buys watches for timing anymore, unless in sports or something. But if there is a story, a nice story behind the watch, or an opportunity why this watch has been built, manufactured, or just worn, then it can really, so the worth of such a watch can really increase immensely. I give you a good example. In 2019, we've had an auction in New York City, where you remember the Francis Ford Coppola movie Apocalypse Now from the early 70s. You are probably too young to have seen that originally, but that was a very famous movie in those days, and later on it's a classic. And Marlon Brando was there, and he wore a GMT Master Rolex, and this very watch has been auctioned in New York City in 2019, worn by Marlon Brando for almost $2 million. So $2 million for a watch is, so he or she, the buyer, didn't buy it because of he or she wanted to know the time. It has been bought because of the history and the story about that. And so that's what we do as well in our company. We are storytellers around the watch, and we build watches for specific remembrances and specific opportunities.
Okay, awesome. So I just have to find somebody who's famous like Marlon Brando and take his or her watch, and then I can do this auction thing.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, it's all about the story, who has worn it, why has it been built, where has it been built. Of course, the amount of watches on the market also plays a role, of course. But if you are into something and love things like watches, or countries, or specific places, or clubs, football clubs, you name it, then it's always a good opportunity to combine that with a souvenir. And one of our watches is always a good opportunity for such a souvenir.
Yeah. So do you make many auctions still today, or do you go to them?
No, I mean, that was not our auction, and we don't auction it. And I have not been there at this auction because my pocket is not big enough for this. But no, we don't do auctions yet. But what we do, whenever I find, our company, the core of the German watch company, is a company I've erected in 2017 in the eastern German city of Weimar. And in Weimar, we've had the Uhrenwerk Weimar. So the watch company of Weimar, originally erected in 1950. And this very long story tells something about the watchmaking capability, in particular in East Germany. And that was one of the reasons why I re-erected this brand in 2017. And whenever I come around a watch that has been built between 1950 and 1994, when the original company has been screwed, and like 4,000 people has been dismissed from watchmaking in that company. Whenever I come around a watch having been built there in this time, I try to buy it and to keep it because this very history is it that we want to tell, and that is something we want to keep And so that's the reason why we look at the roots of this company from the 50s until today. But of course, our wristwatches being built today are modern ones, a high-end manufactured, high-end German technique.
Yeah. So can we speak a little bit more about the Uhrenwerk Weimar? So you bought the trademark rights to the name also.
I found the story goes as follows. I found in 2016, 2017, I was invited by my friend Thomas, who lives in Weimar and who's today a partner in our company. And Thomas gave a party in a venue, which is today a club, and the name is Uhrenwerk Weimar, watch company of Weimar. And so we partied there, and I asked myself, what was this before? And then I learned the story and the heritage of watchmaking in East Germany and in Weimar, but not only there. There are other places in the German state of Thuringia in particular, and in Saxony. And so I've learned the story, and I liked the story, and I always found that has to be kept and saved. So I registered the brand, re-registered the brand Uhrenwerk Weimar.
Yes.
And we started with a little collection of 3 watches. And we had a very good designer from Antwerp, Ronald Steffen, who made already a lot of watches and watch designs. And so here we are. We built them, we manufactured them, we started from the scratch just as a hobby, and it went very well. And so we thought that has to be extended, and we're still here.
That's cool. Amazing. So because I have really no idea about manufacturing watches. You're saying this, we have a graphic, you have something who's doing the graphic. Can you a little bit introduce me to the steps that are necessary in order? I mean, the collection is the final part.
Yeah.
When I see the pictures and things like that. But what are the steps? Maybe not all, but some broader steps that you have to accomplish in order to bring a watch to the market. Can you explain this a little bit?
It all starts with an idea, and with us it's pretty easy, because when we like the idea of making a specific model, then we just do it. Then we discuss it. Is it worth of doing it? And may there be a market? That's the second question. But before that, we really discuss our own taste and what we like and what we would like to wear. So when there's the idea, we discuss this with our chief designer, which still is Ronald Steffen until today, and he gives us some hints how things could work. So how things could work technically, what would be a nice design and everything. And so he scribbles something on paper, and we have a look, and then together we decide, let's do it. And once we do it, we have a look around the market worldwide where we get the pieces. We need the pieces to get together. There's the case, there's the clock face, there are the dials and everything. And of course, there's also the clockwork you need, which is the core and the most important part of the watch. And we collect the things together and put it together and have a model there. And so when we like it, there are some minor changes to be made, and they are being made, and then we just produce it, and then we have the watches and try to tell the story about it. Our latest model is the Palermon. Palermon is a water god as well as crab, and this is a very maritime watch with an automatic clockwork, and this maritime watch is because, of course, you as a Hamburg-based guy, we tend to the sea and we love sailing and ships and everything. So I always thought we need to build something what people at the coast side of Germany or Belgium or the Netherlands or France or elsewhere would love around the world, and we just did it, and so we ended up with a very maritime, very heavy watch with a high-end automatic clockwork, and then we've started telling the story about the 7 seas and why our watch would very, very nicely fit on those trips around the world. On a boat, on a ship, and then we've had the coronavirus coming up, and everything, all sails really stopped more or less, but not only with us, but around the world with many other companies as well. So what we do right now is we do online, and we try to tell the story still, though, and we all hope that when it opens up again and when people are able to visit harbors and want to look good at parties on the beach and everything, then our Palemon model would very much fit into that. And so, that's all of it. You need an idea, you need a good designer, you need, of course, the manufacturing, the assembling, which has to be made by watchmakers, very well trained, very well equipped. That's something we have in our company. And then we put everything together and bring it on the market, and then I run around and tell the story about this watch and this model.
Yes, awesome. That's cool. So we already have some likes and also one comment. Sophie is just writing watches. Okay, and thumbs up. That's awesome. Okay, but if you have any questions, you can also feel free to write it in the comment section. If you have any questions about watches or the topics that we're speaking about, just let us know, and I can show the question and give it to Phil so that he can answer the questions. That's cool. So I had to this topic that you spoke about, one more question. Yeah. So what is the time period? So if from starting with the idea until telling the story of the watch, how long normally does it take?
I mean, from the idea to the first drafts, that's an easy step, or it's not easy, but it can be easily done and quite fast, and so that only takes some weeks. But then the challenge starts, because the main challenge is to get the pieces together. You have to decide which clockwork you put into this model, and you need the pieces, and you need the right amount and the right quality for for reasonable pricing. And that's the main challenge, to get everything together, which can easily take up to half a year. And so that's something, where we always need to be patient and to push things forward, which is not easy under pandemic conditions. And you see, we try to take this time, but for a real high-end model like the Palemon can take up to 1 year from the idea to the collection on the market. Jakob, my problem now is I cannot hear you properly anymore. So I really didn't get the question right now. So I can't hear you properly. Can you hear me? So I hear. So I can't hear anything anymore. So you're broken. You're mute. You're on mute. I can't hear you. So if you can hear me, I just can speak, and everything went well until now, and I have full access to the network over here, but I cannot hear you. It's broken. It's over.
Now better?
Yeah, now I got it. Okay. Yeah.
Some individual issues. Okay, sorry for that one.
No worries.
Yeah, I think you already answered the question, right? What brand is the best in Germany?
Well, no, I didn't answer that properly, because there are many, many very, very good brands in Germany. So the wristwatch manufacturing in Germany is way better than their worldwide reputation, because of course everybody speaks about Swiss watchmaking around the world. And I think made in Germany watches are highly underrated and have a very, very high value. Our claim always is a German watch is like a Swiss watch, but made in Germany. And I think that says it all, because if you like German engineering, if you like German cars, if you like high-end motors, manufacturing, and everything, and if you're an individual person, then you should need one of our German watch collection, because those models are like those German cars or the German washing machines sold around the world. And we have in Germany, in particular, in the very heart of Germany, in Saxony and Thuringia, or in Hesse, or in Hamburg as well, we have around Germany, actually, we have a lot of smaller or mid-sized companies doing watches for a long period of time now, with some with a very long tradition, some very entrepreneurial, just set up, but with very, very good watches. And that's actually what we want to do in the next steps. We want to spread the word about those high-end watches made in Germany, not only for particular brands like Uhrenwerk Weimar, for instance, but also for other brands. And I strongly believe that the US market is a very, very interesting and a very capacitive market for that. And so that's something we are planning as our next step, or we're just about to do that. We are entering the US market, but not only with our brand, but with other brands as well. And actually, all brands made in Germany are invited to join us to spread the word in the United States, to tell the people why you get an affordable watch, which is as good as all the brands you may know from Geneva.
Yes, yes. Okay, I hope Sophia answers your question. She's also writing, car is best Germany. Okay, I mean, yeah, that's something that many people know Germany for, but I mean, it's not only the cars, it's also
also the watches. And of course, there are many other things like, kitchen equipment. So if you have a washing machine or a dishwasher, or you name it, we have all those big brands from Germany. And if you buy something made in Germany, you can probably be sure that it will last very long, that it is quite valuable, that you don't have to hustle with the technique and so on, and that's something. And sometimes the design is very classic, not too innovative, sometimes very down to earth, like the Bauhaus, very streamlined, very very strong sound sometimes. But at least that lasts the time and is not vanished once a fashion is away. Then this design is still there.
Yes, definitely. That's cool. So you have the ambitious goal to, not ambitious, but you have the goal also to go to the US market, right? That's one of your goals.
Actually, we just set up a new company in the United States, based in Michigan, close to Detroit. There are some interesting watchmakers in the United States as well. In the Detroit area, in Michigan, there is a kind of a cluster. Now the light is switched off over here. So I can try to fix it? Yeah, there we go. There is a cluster, a watchmaking cluster around the Detroit area and the metropolitan area there. So we set up a company named the German Watch Company Incorporation over there. I don't know. We have also some technical issues here, so yeah, here we are, and we still are in talks with other manufacturers here in Germany. Because we like to partner up and to enter the German, so the market of watch addicts who value made in Germany products in general. And whenever somebody in the United States buys a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz, then it's kind of marketing for our watches as well. And that's what we'd like. You know, in what I've just learned is, in Chicago, for instance, there is a German Christkindl market, and there is a guy there selling. So this Christkindl market is being visited by 1.5 million people all year outside pandemic. So and those so there is a guy with a stand on this Christkindl market, and he sells Kuckuck's watches, Kuckuck clocks. And those clocks are like $400 bucks, $400 US dollars, and he's always sold out. And I guess what's missing on those Christkindl market is a stand with wristwatches. So we will make sure that people visiting the German Christkindl market Chicago from now on will have access to wristwatches made in Germany.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully when the pandemic's over, you are going to sell on the Christkindl market in Chicago.
Yeah, that's something happening in December. So yeah, and we are trying to explain why if you're an individual, fashionable, independent soul in the United States, then you can consider to wear our watches instead all those brands you may or may not already know.
Yeah, cool. So a little bit back to your story when it comes as an entrepreneur. So you bought the trademark in 2017. So a couple of years, 3-4 years now. You have experience.
Actually, I didn't need to buy it because I just registered it because nobody took care of this brand. It was just free. You know, it was forgotten more or less, or pretty much. So I just went to the brand office here in Europe and just re-registered the trademark, and nobody complained. So today it's our brand.
Oh, okay. Even easier. Okay.
yeah, but it shows, you know, you need to value all those old things around such an important brand, what it used to be, and that's something people tend to forget, and they don't care anymore about valuable old things have been built, or where people had an idea around, and where many people took effort in. And once it's over and forgotten. This is something I really try to avoid.
So when it comes, I mean, how did you found information about the clocks? How were they produced on Uhrenwerk Weimar? Did you just check the archives, or how did you found the information?
I dove deep in the archives. I collected. I mean, I already had some literature around that, and I of course spoke to many people, but I had to learn a lot of things, of course, and I took a training together with watchmakers in Thuringia, and I've learned how things work. We also are a member of the Watchmakers and Jewelry Association in Germany, so we learn, of course, from the market and from people who have the experience we lack until today. So, but it's all about training. It's about effort. It's about having an idea and keeping focused on that. And there are always many people with a lot of experience on the market still, and you need to talk to them and to team up with them, and then you come to great results, as we did.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So you're a little bit already answering my next question. So what kind of lessons did you learn during the process since 2017 when it comes to watchmaking? So do you have some nuggets that you can share when it comes to watches in a European or on a global level? So what did you learn as an entrepreneur in this time frame?
Keeping focused. I mean, you need to be self-confident with your brand. Of course, there are many people saying that won't work and that cannot be done. It's over. This brand is over. In particular, in the city of Weimar, the people were very skeptic. And we're like, yeah, we have all those big brands we are wearing and buying now. Why should it be worth to buy your watches? But outside, people were still curious about this idea, and you have to stick to the idea and keep persistent. I mean, I of course always listen to your broadcast, so I find that all those successful entrepreneurs say that persistence, keeping focused, belief in yourself and in your brand and in your products. And when you believe in it, then others will do as well. And persistence it is. And since I make watches on my own, I am focused, of course, and have a good overview on what's going on. And wherever I am, I have a look on what do the people wear, what do they like when it comes to watches, where can I get good watches, and then actually even on platforms like eBay, you still find some nice and valuable pieces worth buying. So that's something you can do just to step forward and talk to the people, tell a story, reach out with your message of high-end watchmaking to the target groups you want to reach, like we do for the moment. That's something, and that's really, and that makes fun, and you get to know many great people like we've met now. And so I think that's the thing. At the end, it's people business, and it's about spreading the word and setting people on fire about your own brand and your idea, and looking good, being fashionable with our watches.
Yeah, this is something that people underestimate. People are making business with each other. It's not like the business. It's two humans who are interacting and speaking with each other. That's mainly what is called business. Cool.
Yeah, it's people business, and it's people to people. I mean, even when it is B2B, which we are not doing, we do B2C, but even B2B, at the end, there are people sitting. You need to talk to, you need to convince them, you need to gain trust, and that's not easy. And the people really look into you, look deep into you, whether they can trust you, and whether the products are worth it. Of course, it's also about pricing, and so that's something you need to keep in mind, and then you need to be communicative, and at the end, the people buy your idea, because behind all of our products is an idea. It started all with an idea. And if you convince them, they don't only buy the product, but the idea behind that. So you need to explain that and keep it telling, and you need to be a storyteller as well. I mean, sometimes my mother, who gave me that very watch as a child, sometimes she blamed me being a good storyteller. You're just telling stories. Yeah, but then I found out that this is not a very bad thing, actually, to tell good stories, to have a narrative around a product, because products we all have enough. We have things. That's enough. But remembrance and feelings to collect. That's the deeper meaning of life, and you can combine that with our watches.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, storytelling, very effective tool in order to connect people with things, like you said.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind that the light is switching on and off over here. I don't know why that is, but we need to get used to it.
We will figure it out. Don't worry
okay,
about that. Yeah. Okay, you already mentioned your target audience. Can you? What are questions that you get all the time about your watches from your community? So, are there any questions that they come all again and again, or any questions that you get from your community?
Yeah, one of the main questions actually I always get is about the limitation of our watches, because some of our models are limited. And people really want to know about amounts of how many have been produced and how limited is it to check out the worth of the watch at the end. I mean, that's and that always that also proves what we've just said. You know, people are really curious about the story they can tell about this watch, and if they have like the number 99 or 100 of a watch we've just made 100 of, then they are proud of. They can tell the story. They can spread a word about that, and that's what they love about our watches, because you know it's the limitation is something people interest, and they are really careful when we say we only make 250 pieces of a specific model. People really have a look and really are careful whether we don't do 300 or 200 more or so. That could be a mistake. We would never do. So yeah, that's actually the main thing. And also interesting when it comes to Uhrenberg Weimar watches, to those old watches built in the 50s, 60s, 70s in East Germany. So we have a lot of people from Germany asking us whether we still have parts or whether we are still able to fix things when the watch is broken then, which is actually not the case, because since then we don't have the pieces anymore. We have some pieces, but not being able to fix old watches from the 60s, 70s. I know some very good watchmakers who are capable of doing it, of fixing old watches, but yeah, but it shows that people value their old watches still, that they're collecting it, that they're keeping it, they're still having it, and if it's once broken, they want to fix it instead of buying something new, which is sometimes a pity actually. But yeah. So there we go, and that also shows the value that there are many people out there value their watches, the manufacturing, their timepiece, they combine their remembrances with.
So I guess the second part that you mentioned was asking for little pieces or how to fix it. This is an older target group, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Or an older target group, or people getting an old watch from their grandparents or their parents, you know, and asking themselves, can I fix it? Can I still wear it? And I sometimes can help. So it's mainly I can't, but sometimes I can help. But if I can't, I only can tell them, you can buy one of our watches right now, because when you have your grandchildren, later on, you can give them the watch you've just bought, and sometimes they do actually, and it's a pretty good idea. I mean, to combine the time right now with remembrances that will people value later on, it's also a good idea.
Okay, cool. And when it comes to this whole topic of limitations, so do you define before you produce them? So we are going to produce 250 watches, and on all watches there's a number, or how can I identify the limitation?
You see there is a difference between numbered, because all of our watches are numbered, so there's always a number on the back of the back plate of the watch, and some are limited. And for instance, the Henry van der Velde model, so one of the specific models, the male model we've had there, it's a Bauhaus model we've created. This is also limited, and so then we have to decide how many pieces we probably could sell, and of course some of them we want to keep for ourselves and for our archives, so that has to be calculated as part of the calculation when it comes to realizing, so it's It's always an interesting entrepreneurial thing to think about, how many people we can convince to buy this watch. And sometimes we are surprised, like we were with the model we've created for the 70-year remembrance of the Berlin Airlink. So when US and American army pilots, Air Force pilots flew to the city of Berlin to supply them with food and everything they need, because they were closed. The borders were closed, and nothing was possible. There were just those planes for food supply, and that was in 1946, 47. And so we've created a watch in a military style, looking a bit like an Air Force watch, a pilot's watch. It's not, but it looks a bit like. There was a huge success, even in Great Britain and the United States. And remembering this great effort of those two air forces in that time, right after the end of the war, which was just 1 or 2 years away. And supplying the former enemies with food. That was something definitely worth being remembered, and we created a watch to combine this remembrance with. And that was a huge success in Germany and around the world.
So the Air Force has a special history also in your life, right? Because in when we spoke the first time in Hamburg, you have this picture in the background. Can you tell a little bit about this picture also?
Yeah, when I was young, we still had this obligatory 1.5 year to spend at the army.
And, okay,
yeah,
that long.
18 months I've been there, and almost 2 years actually. And so I was asked when I was 18, what do you want to do after school? You need to go to the army, but you can choose between the army, Air Force, or the Marine, so the Navy. And so I chose the Navy, as born in Hamburg, and I chose number one, I'd like to go to the Navy. Secondly, I would like to go to the Air Force, and please avoid the Army. So I came to the Air Force then in the Northern
Why avoid the Navy?
Yeah, I'd like the ships, of course, and everything. So yeah, I don't know, because I at that time I wasn't able so I didn't have the driving license for ships. Meanwhile I have it, but then I hadn't. So yeah, and I was not good enough for the Navy probably. So I came to the Air Force then, and I met some great guys over there, and I still have friendship around people in that former time at the Air Force. And until today, I have friends at an Air Force base in Germany called Fassberg. That was actually one of the bases where those candy bombers during the Berlin Airlink went to Berlin. And so in the city of Fassberg, it's a tiny community, pretty much in the middle of nowhere, but so it's a very nice and cozy Air Force base. And they have their own museum there. It's the Airlink Museum, Luftbrückenmuseum. And so I've friends there, and so we decided from every Airlink watch we are about to sell, we give €3 to this museum, because we still have one candy bomber there, and those. So the atmosphere we found there in the years 40. And so that's something we support. And there's still a link to Air Forces. And our designer, Ronald Stefan, I was talking about earlier, he's also somebody creating watches for Air Forces around the world. So every now and then he gets a phone call from the Air Force of Jordania or in France, so you name it, and then he creates a specific model for that squadron, just asking him. And so he has a great experience in making watches looking like pilot watches. And yeah, so that's something we want to do as well in the United States, and for the US Air Force as well. Would be proud of being able to do that.
Cool. That's great. So my grandfather was also in the military, and he repaired. He was repairing the machines for the Air Force. So
your grandfather. So you can see how old I am, actually.
That's something that you said. That's not from me.
Yeah.
Cool. So what do you wish your clients should feel when they wear your watches? So when they have when they buy it and they use it. So
I put it in a claim for our new company in the United States, the German watch company. So we always say a German watch is like a Swiss watch, but made in Germany. And I think that says it all, because people like good-looking watches, high value, but they also value made in Germany if they know it properly. So that's that combination is it. And I think if you buy a German watch, then you know what you have on your wrist. And it will always accompany you, and it will always be there. And so the day you're not on Earth anymore, this very watch will still be there. And I think, yeah, it's like a good friend. You can afford, and that never leaves you alone and makes you even more individual and good looking as you already are.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit to Pulp Fiction with the scene where Bruce Willis has this watch from his grandfather, and all the storyline around this watch. I mean, he has such a struggle because of this watch. Just was the picture I had now in my mind.
Yes, and it's a very good example for a great product placement, actually, because if you have a closer look at this movie, then you will also identify the brand. And they put a huge amount of money on the table to be in this
Really?
role for the movie. Yes, of course. I mean, that's a good idea to have closer looks on watches, which is actually usually not the case when you see a movie. Although sometimes it happens that even in films playing during the Roman Empire, you can see actors still wearing a wristwatch. So that also happens. But no, I think that's something. It's when it comes to watches, it easily and fastly gets quite emotional. I mean, it's more an emotion than just being safe to know the correct time all the time.
Yes, cool. So I just thought, can Phil just enjoy movies, or is he constantly looking at this watch and that watch?
Very good question, actually. Yeah, when it has nothing to do with watches, but I actually the last, which wasn't really a movie, it was a series. The last series I've binge watched was the new Pope on Sky TV, which goes with Jude Law and John Malkovich. And it's great series. Actually, I highly recommend. But I found myself just constantly looking whether they wear a watch. The popes, so it's about two popes, and then do they wear watches? What kind of clothes are they wearing, and so on. And so it's a very stylish series. But yeah, that's part of my addiction, I assume.
Yeah, I believe this. Cool. Right. So my last question. So what is your vision for the German watch for the next couple of years that's coming?
We will be established in the United States as the German watch company and corporation, partnering up perhaps with an interesting company in the United States. Watchmakers there are very much invited to join our idea and to import and export there and our watches back and forth. I mean, we live in a globalized world, so it's definitely worth to ship watches over the Atlantic Ocean, and so I would very much be part of the very interesting and huge US American consumers market with our high-end made in Germany products. And I'm very positive towards that, actually, and I'm very optimistic because I strongly believe that this market will open up after the pandemic very fast, and people will be back for looking good, meeting other people, visiting interesting places, traveling around, going into restaurants, and looking good. And we can help with that with the German watch company.
Yes, that's awesome. That's nothing to add to this last part. So really enjoyed the time together, and very cool questions and answers. Yeah, the questions, of course.
No, your questions were cool, and really, I'm being proud of being of your format. I'm a huge fan, as you know, and I thank you very much that you do it. And it's a huge opportunity. When you're not able to meet somebody, it's a good idea to do it that way. Even when the light switches on and off all the time, it's a nice
we will fix this until our second appointment.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that, Jakob.
So, okay, really thank you. There are no more questions, but if you have interest, how can people get in contact with you or the website?
So, yeah, we have a website. It's www.german.watch. Nothing else, just www.german.watch, and they can shoot me an email. It's phil@german.watch. Shoot me an email. I'm happy to be in touch, and yeah, looking forward to meet you, whether it's in Germany, Belgium, or the United States of America once.
Oh, we have one question. What kind of customer will buy your watches? So in the final minute.
Yeah, so you have the time to answer all of them. No, so the kind of customer, I think, if it's about, I mean, of course, Joe Average can buy our watch. Of course, everybody around can be a client of ours, and we will be happy with that. But I think if you not to tend to be part of the masses and outstand a bit and be a bit more individualized and have your own style and think about style and fashion in a way, then I think if you want to be a bit more specific and a bit more high end, then you would be a great brand ambassador to us. You know, it's a watch being affordable to anybody, but it makes you an individual when you buy a watch of our brands.
Mm-hmm. She followed a little bit up, and I think what she is asking is where these people live, or are they Americans or Japanese or Chinese? This is something she followed up now.
Yeah. So at the moment, we are based in Germany, our main market is Europe. We have a huge base in Germany, Belgium, and Great Britain. But actually, we've started selling watches to the United States, which is a bit complicated when you sell them one and one. So I think with a German watch company, we will build up a wholesale and a base in the United States, in the Detroit area there. And then we will be an all-American company over there, being based there, having our wholesale there, our warehousing and fulfillment will be there. So from now on, from the start of the German watch company, this is an American company, more or less.
Mm-hmm. And she's also following up how much each about. I think what Sophie is asking, what is the price line? I think.
Yeah. So our watches start around $250 US, and it goes up to 1,500. So the Palemon probably will cost around $1,200, $1,300 US. So that's the price range pretty much, which is cheap for an automatic watch. Still, it's affordable, it's a reasonable price. Yeah, so that's the range.
Okay. Any more questions? So far, not. Yeah, I think that's it for today. So if there are any more questions, I mean, there is a replay of this video. You can still ask us questions, and I will let them know. I will send them to Phil, so that we maybe can answer them in our next session. So there will be a second live session where we speak about the German watch and looking for also for topics. So yeah, if there is something, Sophie, or any other who's listening or who watched it, just let us know in the comment section and I will follow up with them. Yes, then that's it for today. Thank you very much, Phil, and see you next time.
Thanks to the listeners and viewers, and looking forward to meeting you again.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Cheers.